Let us begin with the reversal that liberates. The minute you attribute power to a good thought, you have conceded that power to every thought. If a bright, buoyant idea can save you today, then a dark, anxious one can undo you tomorrow. And so you become a barometer for mental weather, high when the sky is clear, low when the clouds gather. Who by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his stature? Who by arranging holy sentences can make one hair black or white? If ever you believe thought can heal, then you must also fear thought can harm, and in that belief you are not yet free. You are living in two powers, and two powers is not the kingdom. God is one. I am speaking to your weariness with the treadmill you have been running. You are not failing at prayer. You have been conscripted into a system in which the mind must perform incessantly in order to feel safe, searching for the right phrase, the right tone, the right volume of conviction. You call it faith, but mostly it is strain. You call it devotion, but often it is bargaining. And then you condemn yourself because you forgot your affirmation or lost your grip on a happy thought. Don't go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Stop. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think they shall be heard for their much speaking. The Master did not instruct you to rehearse lines before the infinite. He said, your Father knoweth, and consider the lilies. If the lilies are not made perfect by mental effort, neither will you be. So let us establish the axiom that removes the strain. God is one. Because God is one, power is one. They're not rival centers. There is not a pantheon of moods to appease. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. If the Lord is one, then the parade of thoughts, fears, images, and techniques is without authority. The good thought does not carry healing. The presence does. The bad thought does not impose calamity. It has no selfhood, no law, no instrumentality. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet the Spirit that is God moves the seas and lights the stars without your syllables. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Thought is not power, God is power, therefore God is full stop. Do you feel the quiet arriving already? This is the promise hidden in the seeming severity. You can cease policing the sky. You can put down the self-appointed badge of manager of the universe. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. If the Lord is shepherd, then I am not. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy, and you will begin to taste the sufficiency of grace. There is relief at the door, not because you have learned a better formula, but because you have learned to stop trying to be God. Now you may ask, if thought is not power, then what is prayer? If my sentences do not move the infinite, how shall I walk in harmony? That question will lead us through the rest of our time together. Already the answer is whispering, be still and know that I am God. Stillness before the One discloses that the One is here. And why do formulas feel so necessary? Because the mind loves management. It craves handles and levers. But what only grace reveals, no handle can grasp. We will discover how to lay down the handles without falling, how to let the Spirit bear witness in us without the strain of self. For now, hold only this: God is. That ends the argument and begins your freedom. Now, let us look tenderly but truthfully at why formulas feel so necessary. The mind longs for handles. It wants a switch to flip when fear arises, a lever to pull when supply seems thin, a charm to ward off the unknown. It is not seeking God, it is seeking control. Be honest with yourself and you will see it. When the heart trembles, the mind becomes a rapid engineer. Build a wall of sentences, erect a fence of sacred words, pace the perimeter with affirmations as if you could patrol the infinite. But the wind bloweth where it listeth, and you hear the sound thereof, but cannot tell whence it cometh or whither it goeth. What you are trying to corral is not corralled. What you are trying to manage is not managed. Grace is not a system. It is God himself. Ask yourself very simply, who by taking thought has added 1 degree of peace to his soul? Not the momentary lull of distraction, not the pause between anxieties, but peace, the peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Who by sharpening a phrase has lengthened life, deepened spirit, or multiplied grace? Who by saying God is love 100 times has brought love 1 inch nearer? If God is nearer than breathing, where would your sentence find him? If the kingdom is within you, what road must your thought travel to arrive? If the Lord is my shepherd, why am I still grasping the staff? And notice what happens when we turn our techniques on like sirens. The tongue moves, the mind repeats, but the heart still beats fast. The lips say, all is well, and the pulse says, I am afraid. That is the sign of vain repetitions. It is not the beauty or truth of the words that is vain. It is the motive trying to use truth as a tool to fix an imagined second power. As long as you repeat in order to conquer something, you have granted that something a life it does not possess. As long as you believe a good thought can save you, you also believe a bad thought can ruin you. There you are again, 2 powers. And 2 powers is not the kingdom. Hear the Master's warning afresh. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions. Do not mistake the echo of your own mind for the voice of God. Mental talk about God is not communion with God. Repeating truth is not the realization of truth. It is still the mind talking to itself, comforting itself, managing itself. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. If your thought could accomplish the sacred, then the sacred would be no more than a polished human effort. But I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Thought cannot usher the Father in. The Father is already here. I am not condemning words. The letter has its holy place as a signpost. A signpost is good insofar as it gets you off the road and into the land. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace, is not an order to chatter. It is an invitation to acquaintance, which is felt, lived, realized. Let the words you love do their humble work, and then let them end. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Remain until the impulse to manage subsides and a different life stirs, quiet, effortless, self-announcing. That is not mental power. That is presence recognized. So this is the deconstruction. Techniques feel like safety because the mind trusts what it can count and recite. But what only grace reveals cannot be counted, recited, or managed. You can't see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet when it appears, it dissolves fear without a fight. In our next step, we will put a clear name to this difference. There is the letter of truth, statements, ideas, holy words, and there is the spirit of truth, consciousness, itself doing the works. The letter points, the spirit heals. For now, let the inner verdict be simple and firm. God is. That ends the management and begins the communion. Now let us make the great distinction very plain, because on this hinge the door swings from effort into grace. There are 2 parts to this work. There is the letter of truth, what we learn, what we can say, what we can quote, what we can remember at 2 a.m. when fear tries the lock. And there is the Spirit of truth, the dawning, living presence that appears when the mind has been quieted and a deeper life announces itself without our sentences. The letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. Do not stumble over that. The letter does not kill because it is evil. It kills when we mistake it for the life itself. The letter is a lamp to the threshold. The Spirit is the house. What is the trap? You know it well. The mind picks up a verse, a principle, a gleaming sentence, and turns it into a weapon against a condition. We quote to make the fever drop. We declare to make the bank account rise. We affirm to turn an enemy into a friend. In that very moment, we have confessed two powers. We are using holy words as if they were levers to pry God into the scene. But your Father knoweth, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. When the letter is wielded to force a change, the mind is still managing. It is still saying to itself, if I press the right buttons, heaven will answer the machine. Heaven is not a machine. Spirit is not managed. Now do not throw away your books or despise your study. Study is sacred. The letter has a holy task. It lifts us above the clamor of the senses. It points the mind beyond itself. It says quietly, be still and know that I am God. Properly used, the letter loosens the grip of fear and of desire. It prepares a silence. Once it has done that, let it end. Let the signpost be signpost only. Do not try to live at the signpost. Do not stand there reciting the road names and think you have arrived in the country. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace is not a command to chatter. It is an invitation to acquaintance, which is felt, realized, lived. Here is a simple diagnostic, and I ask you to take it into your closet. If what you call prayer leaves you tight across the brow, vigilant for results, listening for footsteps outside your door, congratulating yourself because you did it right today, or condemning yourself because you forgot the phrase last night, it is still letter only. If you come away watchful and weary, waiting to see if your words will work, you have not yet laid the words down. If you can count your prayer by how many times you said it, you have not prayed, you have spoken. True prayer cannot be counted. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet when it appears, it dissolves fear without a fight. What then does the Spirit do? It does the works. Not the mind, not the sentence, not the will. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. This is not poetry, it is procedure. The letter brings you to the place where those words are on your lips. The Spirit is the moment the lips close and the truth of it rises of itself within. Often it is as unnoticed as dawn. You did not push the sun up, you discovered the light had already arrived. That discovery heals. So practice rightly, use the letter until it has carried you beyond the need to use it. Let it steady the boat, and then put the oars down. Hold those teeth together if you must. Remain until the inner wind that is not of your making begins to move. The mind cannot enter the Spirit by improvement, by brighter ideas, fancier phrasing, louder insisting. The mind enters only by surrender. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy, and you will feel the adequacy of God. God is that ends the argument, and the Spirit will make the proof. Now take the next firm step with me, because here a paradox opens the door. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy, not as self-condemnation, not as a sad story about your past or your habits, but as spiritual accuracy. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Until that is more than a verse, until it is the frame around your day, You are still trying to visit God with your virtue. Reach God with your will. Impress God with your phrases. Thought is not power. Emotion is not power. Will is not power. God is power, one power, and where that is realized, the burden falls off. Look honestly. Who by taking thought has added peace to his soul? Who by intensifying a mood has come nearer to the infinite? Who by perfecting a technique has awakened the presence? My thoughts are not your thoughts. If the sacred could be achieved by brighter ideas, the most brilliant among us would be the holiest, and the master would have organized a school of slogans. He did not. He said, I can of mine own self do nothing. He said, your Father knoweth. He said, consider the lilies. When will you believe him? When will you consent to be nothing in yourself so that the all may reveal itself as your very life? Stop trying to be the doer of spiritual work. You cannot. No man has ever lived capable of healing another person spiritually. The Father within presence realized doeth the works. And here, dear one, is the relief you have been craving, though you did not know its name. If you are not the doer, you are also not the carrier of results. You are not responsible for outcomes. You are responsible to be receptive. You are not charged to make harmony appear. You are called to be still until harmony, which is the nature of God, reveals itself. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, not as a tactic to make the burden behave, but because there is no separate you to carry what only the one bears. When you stop performing at prayer, prayer stops being performance. The yoke becomes easy and the burden light because it is not your yoke and not your burden. You are not hired as God's assistant. You are asked to witness God's sufficiency. But if I lay down my methods, will I not be helpless? Yes. And blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. When I am weak, then am I strong. What looks like helplessness to the human sense is the only honesty that invites grace. As long as you have a last lever to pull, you will keep postponing the miracle of non-doing. As long as you believe that an improved version of you can usher in the holy, you will not discover that the holy was never absent. So let it be said without apology, admit defeat, be glad to be empty of self-ability, be firm in it. Say within yourself, Father, of mine own self I do nothing. Let me turn this over to thee. Let me feel thy presence. Then do the daring act. Stop. Stop talking at heaven. Stop rehearsing. Let your tongue fall quiet. Hold those teeth together if you must. Remain. In that remaining, you will not manufacture silence. You will discover it. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. And yet when it comes as authority without effort, peace without a cause, sufficiency without calculation. Not by might, not by power, by my Spirit, saith the Lord. And when Spirit is doing the work, you find yourself strangely free, free of the stopwatch, free of the scoreboard, free of the anxious glances at circumstances to see if your words took. This is liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. It was never the personal doer that saved you. It was the cessation of doing that lets salvation enter your awareness as what already is. Take into your next quiet hour a single, simple treatment, if we may call it that, for the sake of leading you beyond it. Let the two words God is end the debate. Let God is dissolve the doer. Let God is carry you past the reach of technique into trust. And then be still long enough for grace to begin doing what grace alone does. From here, the path is plain. Once the personal doer is surrendered, prayer ceases to be speech about God and becomes wordless receptivity to God. We are moving there now. Stop telling, begin receiving. The moment you stop being the doer, grace begins to do the work. Now we make the holy shift. Stop talking to God. Do not go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Stop. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions, for they think they shall be heard for their much speaking. The Master did not appoint you chief negotiator with heaven. He said, Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. He said, Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. That shutting of the door is not the turning of a knob in the hall. It is the closing of the lips, the laying down of the inner speeches, the surrender of managing. Let your tongue fall quiet. Hold those teeth together if you must. Be still and know. True prayer begins when talking ends. Prayer is not informing deity, nor persuading omnipotence. Prayer is being placed on the receiving end of God. It is not a push. It is a consent. It is not a plan. It is a presence recognized. In that invisible exchange, no syllable is required. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit. That is the act of prayer. It is the moment the wind, which bloweth where it listeth, is felt without our summoning. It is the quiet recognition of what already is, the one power, the one life, the one law, and in that recognition, fear drops its weapon without a fight. Let me make it tangible. A woman once came distressed, armed with hours of beautiful phrases, rosaries of sacred sentences, breathless from trying to keep God informed of her need. I listened to the cadence of sincerity, and then I said gently, Stop. Not another word. Let your tongue rest. We sat a minute, 2, 5. No prayers, as she understood them. No effort to convince heaven. Only a shared consent to be nothing but witness. After a while, she opened her eyes and whispered, surprised by her own voice, It's quiet. That was prayer. Not the hush of exhaustion, but the peace that has no cause. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Words had not brought it, silence revealed it. Not by might, not by power, by my spirit. How will you know you have shifted from talking to praying? The body tells the truth. The brow unknits. The breath loosens. The watcher in you stops scanning the horizon for results. There is no bargaining, no clock, no tally of repetitions. You discover a stillness that you did not make. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it announces itself as sufficiency, as a presence that outlives your ideas about presence. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. That quietness is not passive, it is receptive. It places you not at the head of the table giving orders to the infinite, but at the open window where the breeze comes. When it comes and leaves you changed. Do not be frightened by the emptiness that follows the last word. That emptiness is the manger where the Christ appears. Blessed are the poor in spirit. The poverty here is holy. No slogans, no demands, no mental management. Only the willingness to let God be God, and to let that be enough. If the mind insists upon a handle, give it a single one and then let even that go. Let the two words God is end the debate. Let them still the impulse to explain. Speak them softly within, once, twice, as you would place a hand on a child's shoulder, and then be still. Do not nurse the words. Do not turn them into a chant to move a second power. Let God is return you to the one power and then remain. This is your practice now. Cease telling. Begin receiving. Go into your closet. Shut the door of the lips and of the mind, and wait without scheme or fear. Treat God as omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, by refusing to add your counsel. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. If he is shepherd, you are not. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. The moment you stop being the doer of prayer, prayer begins to pray itself in you. And when the mind grows restless again, as it will, let the two-word treatment steady you, God is, and then fall back into the silence where grace and grace alone does the work. Let us take the single handle we may lawfully keep and only to release even that into silence. God is. Not as a charm, not as a wand waved over circumstance, not as a key to twist the lock of heaven, but as the sentence that ends the courtroom debate of the mind. God is closes the case. It returns consciousness to the ground of being where there is one power, one life, one law. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. As long as you need a long argument, you are still answering an accuser. God is refuses the accuser an audience. Why does it work? Because it addresses the only issue, dualism. The mind wants two God and problem, spirit and matter, truth and error, so that it can manage the war. God is refuses the war. It does not argue with appearances. It does not wrestle with shadows on the wall. It does not try to make evil behave or sickness surrender or lack become generous. It simply denies them a second seat of power by acknowledging the only seat, I am. Be still and know that I am God. Not be loud and overcome. Not take thought and prevail. Be still and know. God is that stillness entering the mind like a seal. Enough. Here is the subtle discipline. You are not thinking about God. You are not building a picture of God. You are not stroking the phrase until a feeling comes. You are resting in the isness of God, letting the mind's habit of explanation fall away. Whisper it within once or twice, God is, and then let the words go. Let them do their small, holy work of turning you inward, and then sit in the inward. Hold those teeth together if you must. Remain until the need to decorate the truth subsides. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet when you rest in the isness, a presence announces itself as enough. In him we live and move and have our being. Do not mistake the direction. God is not used to fix a body, a bank account, or a relationship. We do not point it at organs, ledgers, or faces. We are not using truth to repair appearances. We are yielding to truth until appearances conform to what is realized. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The adding is the shadow of realization. Harmony is the fragrance of the rose, not the product of your breath upon the petals. When God is realized, the body reports ease, the ledger bears sufficiency, the estranged heart softens, and you will know, not by might, not by power, but by his spirit. Let it be practical. A pang of fear comes. The mind rushes to consult 100 counselors, to draft statements, to check the horizon. Stop. Let the inner jaw set gently. God is. No rehearsal. No embroidery. Do not finish the sentence with qualities. Do not tell God what God is. God is. Full stop. Then wait. The brow will unknit. The pulse will quiet. The watcher will stop scanning for results. If the mind jumps back into the chorus, yes. But what about place? The two words again, as a hand on a child's shoulder, and be still. This is trust. This is obedience to the first commandment without negotiation. Now I must confront you where the old habit will try to smuggle itself back in the mind. Hearing of the two-word treatment says, wonderful, at last, a compact technique I can use to get what I want. It begins to count. 50 God is before breakfast, 100 after lunch, 300 at midnight to force the fever, the debt, the quarrel to move. That is not God is. That is management in miniature. That is two powers disguised as piety. God on one side, problem on the other, and your repetition as the bridge between. Do not go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Stop. Your Father knoweth. Resist not evil. When God is used to make a second power surrender, you have already left the holy ground. So I give you this as a stabilizing anchor, not as a magic phrase. Use it to end debate, not to win one. Use it to return to the one. Power, not to manipulate appearances. When the words have done their work, let them disappear into the silence where grace appears of itself. If you find yourself nursing them for results, smile and admit it, and then lay them down again. We will speak plainly next of why affirmations fail, how even a beautiful sentence can keep you in two powers if you try to make it do what only realized presence does. For now, be simple, be honest, be still. God is. That's all. And that all is enough. Now let us speak plainly about affirmations, because many of you have been faithful to them and weary because of them. Why do they fail? They fail for this reason. They keep you in two powers. The very moment you affirm to overcome something, you have admitted a problem power on one side and a thought power on the other, and you set the little manager in you to preside over a war that has no victor. As long as you believe a good thought has power, you must also believe a bad thought has power. Then you are condemned to police your mind sunrise to midnight, for fear a stray syllable will wreck your work. Peace becomes impossible. Who by taking thought has ever entered the kingdom? Consider it in the light. You say, I am whole, and at the same instant you listen inward for the creak of fear. You glance at the symptom. You check the pulse of circumstance to see if your words have taken hold. That is not realization. It is an argument. An argument presupposes an adversary. Resist not evil. The minute you resist it with a sentence, you have made it something. The lips are declaring wholeness. The heart is scanning for proof. That is two powers, and two powers is not the kingdom. Do not think I condemn sincerity. Many have been saved from despair by a single noble sentence placed between them and the dark. The letter can be a lamp to the threshold, but when you ask the lamp to be the house, the flame gutters, the letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. Affirmations are still of the letter when they are used to bend appearances. They remain in the realm of mind, striving to manage God. And hear the reversal that will set you free. Affirming is almost as useless as thinking it if it remains mental effort rather than inner surrender. The mind telling itself about God is not the same as God realized. What is the hidden cost of believing thought can heal? You must fear that thought can harm. You must fear the unguarded moment, the sleepy hour, the sigh that slips out when pain pinches, as if omnipotence were toppled by a sentence spoken carelessly at noon. Your Father knoweth. If the government of being rests on the frailty of your phrasing, it is not God that governs. If the shepherd is your affirmation and not the Lord, sheep you will remain bleeding for the next line. The Master did not appoint you attorney for heaven. He said, take no thought for your life. He said, peace be still. He said, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Not my polished affirmations do them. Not my perfect mental stance does them. The Father within presence realized does them. Affirmations fail because they keep mind on the throne with its counters and clocks and scorecards. You affirm, and then you wait to see if it worked. You affirm again, faster, louder, sweeter. Stop, stop, let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Be still and know what then takes the place of effort. Grace. Not an idea of grace, not the word grace on your lips, but grace appearing to itself as the sufficiency of God. You cannot manufacture it. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. And yet when it comes as authority without argument. It is recognized, not produced, It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, not your pleasure to wrench it from his hand with many words. When the mind ceases its managing, when the last affirmation has done its only lawful work and fallen silent, then the wind bloweth where it listeth, and you discover it was never absent. So let the inner verdict be gentle and irrevocable. I will not use truth to fight shadows. I will not treat thought as power. I will let God is end the debate, and I will remain until the presence makes its own proof. Then you will see why harmony never arrives by mental might or by personal power, but always, only by my spirit. And that is where we are going next, not to improve effort, but to end it, so that grace may begin. Harmony does not come by might. Harmony does not come by power. Certainly it does not come by mental power, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Let that be final in you. As long as you are trying to push peace into place, you are proving that you do not yet trust the one power to reveal itself. Harmony is not the product of technique. It is the evidence of grace. It is the fragrance, not the perfume you spray. It is the fruit on the bough that no farmer can pull into ripeness with his hands. When effort ends, grace begins. What is grace as you know it in your own heart? It is a softening you did not arrange, a release that arrives without your engineering, an inner assurance that does not argue. One moment the brow is knotted, the breath short, the mind arranging its armies. The next, without your inventing it, there is a loosening quiet where there was clamor, sufficiency where there was scheme. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. You did not talk it into being. You recognized it when it appeared. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet when it comes, it bears its own authority. Like the wind that bloweth where it listeth, it refuses your calendar, your stopwatch, your proof sheets, and this is your salvation. For what you can schedule, you will try to control, and what you try to control, you will lose. Now the mind will say, but when? It will stand at the window of appearances, nose to the glass, asking for a sign. It will check the symptom, the ledger, the door, the phone, the face of the one you love, demanding a verdict now. That is not faith. That is fear in a prayer robe. Your Father knoweth, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. When you release the demand for immediate proof, proof appears not because you bribed it with patience, but because the pressure that veiled grace has been surrendered. As long as you are timing God, you are managing God. As long as you are managing God, you are withholding the only consent God asks of you: be still. So here is the inner posture that belongs to those who would live by grace. Father of mine own self, I do nothing. Let me turn this over to thee. Let me feel thy presence. Not, let me fix this with prayer. Not, let me choose a stronger verse. Let me turn this over. Let me feel. Then stop. Stop. Hold those teeth together if you must. Be still and know that I am God. Let God is close the case in your mind and sit in the closed case until the peace that is without cause announces itself. Cast thy burden upon the Lord. Not to manipulate an outcome, but because there is only one life bearing itself, and you are included in that one life without having to prop it up with your sentences. The shepherd is the Lord, not your phrasing. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And do not try to make this a solitary heroism. Isolation strengthens mental bondage because the separate self is the mind's favorite theater. Alone with its plans, it manages, compares, and times. But where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. United consciousness does not multiply power. It dissolves the illusion of separation so that one presence may be more readily recognized. If there be 10 righteous in a city, the city is held not by a transfer of force, but by a shared realization of one life. Sit with those who will not argue with appearances. Sit with those who will hold silence with you, who will refuse to advise God, who will wait without clock or bargaining until grace reveals what grace is always revealing. In that communion, the personal watcher tires of his post more quickly, and the heart, which is God, is admitted. Let the verdict be final. Effort ends here. From this night forward, let your first movement be surrender, and your second be silence. Treat God as omniscience by not informing omniscience. Treat God as omnipotence by not supplying might. Treat God as omnipresence by refusing to look elsewhere for help. Then watch not outwardly for results, but inwardly for the softening that is grace, for the assurance that has no source in you. Harmony will come as it only can by my Spirit. And as you taste this ease, we will go on to discover that this recognition is not private property. It is strengthened, steadied, and extended in united consciousness, where the one power proves itself as the life of us all. Now let us be plain about united consciousness, because here the mind loves to smuggle back its management under a new banner. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. The potency there is not arithmetic. It is not that 2 minds are stronger than one. It is that mind is set aside more readily when we gather in the nature, the isness, the name of God. Name means nature. When we gather in the nature of oneness, God is one, the illusion of separation loosens, and the presence that is always present is more easily recognized, not produced, recognized. Do not confuse this with sending thoughts. Do not picture currents leaving your head and entering another. Do not try to broadcast healing like a signal from a little radio in your skull. Stop. Stop. That is the mind managing God. Spiritual support is not traffic between separate persons. It is resting together in the realization of one power, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us. When the heart consents to this oneness, no beams need be sent. The work is done by my Spirit. You were never meant to carry this alone because you were never alone. You are not a private mind shouting through space to reach deity. In him we live and move and have our being. You are not outside trying to get in. You are within God. And what we call united consciousness is simply the shared cessation of pretending otherwise. The branch does not strain to reach the vine. I am the vine, ye are the branches. Abide in me, for without me ye can do nothing. That abiding is what we mean by communion. Your inadequacy is acknowledged. The Father within does the works. And because we yield together, the yielding becomes easier. Let this be practical. A friend writes for help. Do not begin composing a speech to heaven. Do not visualize a body part, a ledger, a courtroom. Withdraw the name, the face, the narrative. Take the 2 words, God is. Let them end the debate, and then be still together even at a distance. Agree, not on an outcome, but on omnipresence. Agree to give up managing. Be of one mind does not mean think the same sentence at the same time. It means surrender to the same presence at the same time. Sit 3 minutes, 5, 10, if you are led. Hold those teeth together if you must. Let silence have you both. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet when grace announces itself, it bears its own witness. A softening, a sufficiency without argument. Then the work is finished, not when the symptom reports, but when the witness within has spoken peace. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And if there is no one at your side, still you are not solitary. There is a communion of saints. Do not turn that into halos and portraits. Know it as the living awareness that all who rest in God rest together. We are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. Wherever in the world one heart consents to oneness, you have company. Time zones do not divide spirit. Distance does not dilute omnipresence. If there be 10 righteous in a city, the city is held. And if there be 10 in no one place but in the one mind, the world is steadied by their consent. Beware of turning even this into a technique. Do not set the clock to force God into the hour. Do not count the heads to increase your confidence. One with God is a majority because God is one. United consciousness does not multiply power. It dissolves the belief in many powers until only the one is recognized. The relief you feel in such company is not the cheer of numbers. It is the ending of separation. There is one body and one spirit, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. Let this carry us forward, for we are approaching the holy heart of healing. Understand this much, and the next becomes obvious. God and the practitioner and the patient are not three. There is no transfer to perform, no current to send, no merit to apply. There is only oneness realized, and in that realization, what seemed unlike God cannot stand. We will say it simply, and we will prove it. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works, and not for me alone, but as the life of us all. Now, let us say it in the plainest way, so there can be no mistake. There are no intermediaries in God. Do not picture a person sending power to another person. Do not imagine currents traveling from a holy head to a needy body. Stop. That is the transaction model, and it belongs to the marketplace, not the sanctuary. I and the Father are one. God is all in all. Where oneness is the fact, transfer is a fiction. Healing is not a transfer of power. It is the recognition of oneness where no separation can stand. When oneness is realized, what we called problem has no foothold, because it has no second power to oppose the one. What, then, is a practitioner? Not a superior personality, not an owner of spiritual voltage. That which constitutes a practitioner is a state of consciousness that knows God's allness and refuses a second cause. It is a consciousness that has learned to be very firm in its own inadequacy. I can of mine own self do nothing, and equally firm in the sufficiency of the Father within. The Father within me doeth the works. No man has ever lived capable of healing another person spiritually. The presence realized does the work. A practitioner is simply one who stands out of the way and knows this, abiding until grace reveals what grace is always revealing. Now let me confront the habit that returns like a tide. I will give them a treatment, and out come the excellent sentences, the swift rebukes to error, the deft quotations. In that very moment you have confessed to God on one side, error on the other, and you place yourself between to arbitrate. That is the subtle assertion of separation, and it is why formulas fail. The Master did not manage God by speech. He did not treat with words as if words carried force. He said, "Peace, be still," not to manipulate a storm, but to reveal the peace that already is when the one presence is recognized. He said, "Take no thought." He said, "Resist not evil." He did not enter the argument. He ended it in realized oneness. What is the corrective? Withdraw the picture, withdraw the name, the face, the condition, the narrative. Be ruthless here and tender. If even a thread of their story remains in your mind, gently lay it down, close the lips, Hold those teeth together if you must. Let the two words God is end the debate, and then let even those words fall away. Rest in the one, life until the sense of a separate life in trouble or in triumph dissolves. Remain until fear, which has been living on the fiction of two powers, loses its borrowed authority. Perfect love casteth out fear, not your love manufactured by will, but love realized as the only presence God is. In that recognition, there is no patient and no practitioner. There is only God appearing as the wholeness of being, and appearances must answer to that. Do not ask how long. Do not check for results. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet you will know by a sign that is not of the senses, the inner softening, the unknitting of the brow, the quiet that has no cause. When this witness appears, the work is done. Not because you have sent anything anywhere, but because the veil of separation dropped and the one stands revealed as the life of all. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. The Spirit of the Lord is not dispatched, it is acknowledged. Let us make it simple for daily life, and I warn you as I give it, do not turn this into a clocked formula. Let it be a way of being. First, pause. Before the tongue moves, before the mind drafts its lines, consent to your inadequacy. Father of mine own self, I do nothing. Second, let God is be spoken within once or twice to close the court of argument, then be silent. Third, refuse images. Set aside the person, the place, the thing. Treat God as omnipresence by not looking elsewhere. Fourth, wait not to get, but to let. Remain until the sense of separation thins and the peace that is without cause announces itself. Fifth, rise without checking the world. Do not turn back for Lot's wife's glance at appearances. Let gratitude be your only wordless benediction. This is not a method. It is the end of managing. It is the relinquishment of intermediary fantasies for the simplicity of oneness. And as this becomes familiar, you will discover that what we call helping another is only the ease of standing together in what already is. There is one body and one spirit, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. We will take this into the rhythm of the day next, a way of prayer without formulas, so that surrender becomes your first motion and inner listening your abiding home. Let us bring this to the rhythm of a day so that surrender is not an emergency measure but a way of being. The discipline is not repeating words. It is returning daily to silence until receptivity becomes natural. Brief periods, many or few, but honest, not to think, not to outline, not to bargain, only to consent to presence. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. Acquaintance is not chatter. It is quiet recognition. Begin with honesty. Do not approach like a polished professional of prayer. Come like the man who beat upon his breast and would not lift his eyes. Say within, Father, of mine own self, I do nothing. Admit the tremor. Admit the impulse to manage. Admit that the mind wants to get ahead of God with plans and protections, then release it. I can of mine own self do nothing. Be very firm in your inadequacy and just as firm in God's sufficiency. This is your first motion, morning, midday, evening, before the phone, before the meeting, before the bedtime scroll of concerns. Stop. Stop. Let your tongue fall out before you talk to God. Hold those teeth together if you must, and know your Father knoweth. Now, the second motion, rest in God is not to launch thoughts about God, not to embroider the is with attributes, just God is once or twice like a seal upon the door of argument. Let those two words end the case. Then wait for the inner strain to ease. Do not check your pulse. Do not forecast results. Do not say, if I feel peace in 30 seconds, then I will trust. Bargaining returns you to management. Take no thought. Be still and know that I am God. You are not making peace. You are yielding to peace. Third, remain long enough for spontaneity. That may be a breath or 3 minutes or 10. Do not time God. Remain until something not of your making arises, a line of scripture drifting up like a remembered song, an assurance that carries its own quiet authority, or simply causeless peace. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet you will know it by its fruit. The brow unknits, the watcher steps back, the heart says without words, enough. If a verse appears, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, or fear not, it is I. Let it be a feather on the stream, not a paddle you use to push the river. If nothing appears but stillness, that is best. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Set this pattern lightly through the day. Upon waking, before speech, inadequacy confessed, God is silence. At the threshold of tasks, a minute of turning, not to get success, but to acknowledge one presence. When fear spikes, do not grab for arguments. Place the two words, rest again. At day's end, lay the day on the altar. Cast thy burden upon the Lord. Refuse the inventory of wins and losses. You are not the bookkeeper of omnipotence. You are the branch that abides. Abide in me, for without me ye can do nothing. Do not keep score. Do not judge a day by the fireworks of outcomes. Judge it, if you must call it that, by the ease with which you return. The habit forms not by force of repetition, but by the sweetness discovered in resting. Grace will teach you its own timings. The more you cease to manage, the more natural receptivity becomes. The more natural receptivity becomes, the less you look for another power. Then you will notice the after. Liberty, not the thin relief of a problem solved, but the wide room of a burden lifted. You did not know you were carrying the need to control. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. You will recognize that you have shifted from mind bondage to spiritual freedom when quiet precedes thought, when trust precedes plan, when love displaces fear without debate, and you will find that the day itself seems to walk you. For the Father within doeth the works. God is. That is all. And in that all you rest. What, then, is the after? It is not thunder in the heavens, nor lightning on your calendar. It is the absence of a certain inner noise, the end of refereeing your thoughts as if they were rival boxers. It is the loosening of superstition about words and moods, the quiet dismissal of the idea that a stray sentence can topple omnipotence. You discover that fewer inner battles are being fought because there are no sides left to arm. You will not arrange troops when you no longer believe in two powers. Where there was scanning and timing and checking, there is a steady ease that does not take its temperature every hour. Take no thought. You are surprised to find that peace no longer waits for circumstance to blush and behave. The phone may ring, the door may knock, the ledger may frown, and still, under and through, another current bears you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. The after is also a new kind of proof, not the circus of outcomes, not fireworks, not the vanity of being right. Proof looks like harmony quietly restored, a conversation that turns from barbed to kind without a clever line from you, a decision that clarifies itself without fretting, right action that arises as if from nowhere, without strain, without self-approval. It looks like forgiveness happening before you have argued yourself into it. It looks like the brow unknitting of its own accord, the breath coming soft without being counted. It is the child's voice within saying, enough, and heaven answering, yes. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet you know it by fruit, clarity, kindness, sufficiency, without management. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And liberty is precisely what you feel liberty from the mind's empire of control. Be still and know that I am God. Not be loud and tell, be still and know. This is not a decoration for a wall. It is a functional key. You take it into the very moment the mind wants to perform. You place it like a seal over the door of argument. Be still and know. And when the instinct to manage returns, and it will return, answer it with the fact that ends debate. God is. 2 words, and then silence. God is. And then the knowing that is not of thinking, the awareness that requires no sentence to prop it up. In that stillness, the separate doer has no task, and the Father within doeth the works. Begin now, tonight. Stop the vain repetitions. Stop the inner arguing. Hold those teeth together if you must. Sit in the isness of God until peace comes, not because you manufactured it, but because the veil of effort thinned and what is always present was recognized. Do not time it. Do not bargain. Do not go back to check if it worked. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. If a verse rises, let it float and pass. If nothing rises, better still. Let the silence carry authority. Let grace appear to grace. This becomes your normal when surrender becomes your first motion. Freedom is not mastering thought. It is yielding to the one presence until liberty is the air you breathe. Then planning reports to trust. Speech reports to quiet. Action reports to love that needs no witness but itself. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. This is your creed without words, your economy without lack, your health without fear. And the final ground beneath all our steps is this and only this. God is one. God is. In that isness, the burden of mental power drops away, the personal doer retires, and the life you have been given lives itself in peace, in sufficiency, in the holy ease of grace. Be still and know, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. God is, that is all, and in that all you rest.